Um, so the BHK stands for Bascom H. King. And how many of you know who Bascom is? Anybody know Bascom? Surprising number of people. Bascom King is one of the lesser known, better designers in the country, perhaps in the world. He has designed for every company you can think of. Conrad Johnson, Constellation Audio, for many, many years. Infinity, Marantz, I don't know, his laundry list of companies that he designs for is very long, very long. And Bascom has always kind of been in the shadows, and he's just worked as a consultant. And over the years, he and I have worked together. He designed all the servo systems for Infinity, taught me all about servos and how they work. When I broke away from PS Audio in 1990 and formed Genesis with the founder of Infinity, Arnie Nudell, we built our own servo systems and used a lot of technology that Bascom had pioneered. And servos are relatively complex pieces of gear to get a mechanical device moving in a linear fashion by using feedback from an accelerometer. And while it may sound simple, putting an accelerometer inside of a feedback loop can cause rather unstable conditions. And if you get things wrong, I've actually seen woofers fly across the room, literally, and attacking me. So when we got the phase wrong, they can be pretty wild things. So I've known Bascom for years, and the way we got together was about 3 years ago, I think it was. I'm not real good on time, but about 3 years ago, I had decided that we were going to build a state-of-the-art amplifier. As I've gotten older, I've wanted to do less of things that are just there because they're great values and they're affordable, and I wanted to start making some statements. And we had done that with the DAC. That DAC is one of the best DACs in the world at any price. And at first it was a little tough because I didn't design it, and I had to get kind of a grip on my ego and just say, you know what, I'm not as good or even close to the guy that designed it, Ted Smith. I mean, Ted Smith is like a walking encyclopedia. When he shows up at our place, our engineering staff kind of just sits with their, and I think we jokingly say we get about 10% of what Ted talks about. And I'm lucky to get even that much of it. So he's a definite whack job. But I mean, the guy's brilliant and he really knows what he's doing. So I wanted to do a complete chain of products that were commensurate with the type of sound quality and innovation that DAC brings. And so I thought, I've designed amplifiers all my life, for all the life I can remember. Didn't do much as a kid. So I went through 2 designs over 2 years. I started out with a Class D using the Hypex bases, and just, we struggled. We spent a lot of money and a lot of time and produced a really good sounding amplifier. We had Bruno's help, one of the designers from Hypex. We went a combination of analog and Class D, but it just never got to the point that we wanted. And I would listen to it on the big system, and it sounded great. I would take it to other people's systems who had amplifiers that were frankly better, most of them tubes, big giant tube, Sonic Frontier devices. And I'm not a big fan of tube amplifiers because tube amplifiers have so many problems. Their output transformer, they're just, you're trying to do something with a device that isn't made to do it. They're voltage devices, and you can force them to do current, but they're not really happy at that. Having said that, the damn things sound really good, and they do some things really, really well, and making music is one of them. So I would compare our best efforts at an amplifier to these big giant tube amps, and in the end, kind of walk away with my tail between my legs. So I abandoned that. I spent a whole nother year with a completely different design. We did Class D power supply, regulated power supplies, massive regulated power supplies with really high bias Class A AB amplifiers with a combination of MOSFETs and bipolars in there. And that definitely sounded better than our best efforts at the Class D design. And they were really pretty good, but we still never got it to sound as, you know, it just didn't beat everything else. It's the easiest way to put it. And then one day I was over at Arnie's house, and he said, "You got to hear something." "What?" He said, "You're not going to believe this." So I sat down and listened, and he said, he didn't even tell me what he had done. And put this on, put that on. He goes, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, whatever that is, clearly is better than the last thing we heard." And he goes, "It's a solid state amplifier." He said, "This is Bascom's prototype for the Constellation design." This was a while ago, before when Constellation Audio was building it. And he had brought this clunky prototype over. It was all MOSFETs. And Arnie said, "He's building me a copy of this, and I am selling my Sonic Frontier monsters." Now, this is a guy I have known for 40-something years who has never had a piece of solid state anything in his system ever. I mean, it's just never. And Arnie is selling his damned amplifiers and putting this prototype of Bascom's Constellation Audio MOSFET thing in its place, and I was blown away. So you can imagine where that went. Over time, I started talking to Bascom, and I said, "Why don't you just design one for me?" And we talked and negotiated, and I said, "We're going to put your name on it." And Bascom's all, "Oh, horrors," you know. He's a very shy guy, and I mean, that took forever to get him convinced. In fact, the reason it's called the BHK is because Bascom would not allow his name to be put on the front of it. He was terrified of it. He said, "I can't have people sitting in their living room looking at my name. I mean, I can't do it. I just, you know, oh, horrors." And so all right, it'll be BHK, but you know, it's your signature piece. And he said, "Well, there's one other requirement." "What's that?" He said, "It's going to have a tube on the input stage." And I almost fell over. I said, "I've done this for 40 years, and I love tubes, but we don't make tubes. PS Audio is a solid state design company. We do our best." And so what we agreed upon was the following. I said, "I'll go along with the tube as long as it's done in a shootout." And so we got this amplifier going on the input stage. We designed a MOSFET tube. It was a row of MOSFETs for an input stage, actually put onto a tube socket. And then we had a bipolar version. And so we had a JFET, a MOSFET, and a bipolar, and a tube, and they could all plug into the same circuit. And the circuit's very simple. There's no feedback on it. It's just a straight current source device with gain and local generation, but no feedback. And it took about 10 minutes. And I didn't know which. We just had a technician go back and put this one. Here's A, here's B, here's C, here's D, and there was no question. Whatever it was, B or I'm like, oh, whatever that is. So he just grinned, the big shitty grin, and just said, "It's a tube." Oh my God. So now PS Audio makes products with tubes in its input, but never on its output. We can't do that. And that's how the BHK came to be. So why don't we play something? And I want to put on a piece that I'm pretty sure none of you have heard. Oh yeah, if you could. So about 30 years ago, in Switzerland, Itzhak Perlman was playing a concert in front of a live audience, and a friend of Arnie's happened to have a 30 IPS per second Studer tape recorder and a stereo set of microphones standing above Perlman. And so Arnie and I wound up having pretty much the only copy that survived of this. And this is a tape that was converted to DSD by Gus Skinnis, who's a mastering engineer. And so not many people have had a chance to actually hear this, so we'll play some of Perlman live on stage, and I'm sure you've never heard this.